What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, some of you may recognize this game. It is Fossil Fighters for the Nintendo DS. Now this game I had super fond memories of playing back in the day when I was growing up on my Nintendo DS, and I decided to play it there a little while ago, and now I'm just about to make a video. And in today's video, my main objective is to answer the question, is Fossil Fighters as good as I remember? Because I have quite fond memories of this game, and maybe it was just nostalgia, but we're going to hop into it and see if it's as good as I remember it being. So let's get into Fossil Fighters. So a little bit about this game. It came out in 2008, and there's actually 3 games in the series. There's Fossil Fighters Champions that came out a couple of years later, and then Fossil Fighters Frontiers, which came out on the 3DS. I actually played that one a little bit. I remember not liking it very much, so maybe it's another game I'll have to revisit and see if it lives up to my memories or if it's better than I remember. But I have super fond memories of this game, so it's honestly not bad. Like, I didn't mind it at all for the gameplay. I found it, playing it all these years later, I found it quite a bit easier. Now, I don't know if it was because of the emulator and being able to speed up RPGs. I find it makes things a little bit easier, especially when you're trying to grind up any of your team and trying to grind up experience. Then it makes it so much easier on RPG games with having a super speed button like you do with emulators. So anyways, that was a little bit about basically what the Fossil Fighters games are. They're role-playing games, they're RPGs, and yeah, there's 3 of them. 3 of them in the series. Now, this game had some interesting mechanics to it. It kind of took some elements from various different RPGs. Pokemon was one that you could definitely tell it took some elements from, as there is 114 Venusaurs is what they're called in this game. And you get them by digging up fossils and then cleaning the fossils. Now, if you clean a set of arms or legs or the body of the Venusaur, you don't actually get it revived, but if you clean the head, then you get it revived, and then you basically can get your Venusaurs leveled up either through playing or using them in battles and getting them experience, or getting the arms, legs, and body. And then also the arms, legs, and body don't only end up helping with leveling up your Venusaurs, but they also give them extra attacks and abilities as well. So it's definitely crucial to get all the body parts for each Venusaur. So this is some gameplay in the background of me cleaning a head. And yeah, so it's actually they utilize the DS well in this game, because when you're cleaning the fossils, you use the touchpad and you have a drill and a hammer, and then you can clean away a bunch of the debris, and then you actually have dust show up on your screen, which kind of hampers your sight and being able to see what in the world you're looking at. So then you blow into the mic, and this actually was an interesting feature that the DS used in some games, was the mic feature. And I thought, honestly, the touch screen and the mic usage in this game was kind of interesting in integrating what the DS capabilities were back for the time. So playing through it, I mean, I had a blast just cleaning fossils and getting through, digging them up and cleaning them, and it was a lot of fun. And now I want to talk a little bit about the battling mechanics, because they're fairly simple, but they're also kind of sort of complex in their own way. So I want to dive into that a little bit. So as you can see on the right screen there, that is the bottom touchscreen in the game, and there is 4 different spots that your Venusaurs can stand. So the red spot is your party lead, and basically, if you have a Venusaur in your lead position, then they can deal the most amount of damage from that spot, and there's no nerfs or anything to their damage. And then the 2 blue spots on the top and the bottom of the screen, those little blue hexagons, those are the support positions. So then you put some Venusaurs in those positions that you want to assist your main lead Venusaur. And then the green spot is kind of your recovery position, I guess I would call it. Now, those are kind of just names I made up. I'm not sure if they're the actual names, but that's the best way I can describe them. So the green spot on the left side of the touchscreen, that is when you back out one of your Venusaurs and you want them to get recovered and, out of the battle. Then you would move your lead Venusaur into that spot, and then you could move one of your support ones in the center. But basically, your lead Venusaur is the one that you want to be the most powerful, the biggest attacker. So there was a few that I always used in the lead spot. Now, basically, any of the lead Venusaurs that I used were always typically attack. Venusaurs. So there's different ones. There's your attack ones, your all-around ones, then you also have your support Venusaurs as well. And then also your defensive and your long range ones. So basically your long range Venusaurs are ones that can do the same amount of damage from the support position that they can do from the red hexagons position. So they basically get no nerfs to their damage. Any of the other types of Venusaurs, they will get nerfs to their damage if they're sitting in the support blue hexagons. And I would always throw in support Venusaurs in my blue spots and then have a strong attacker in my lead position. And that was kind of how I structured all my teams in this game. And that was what I found to be the most effective. So Corona was kind of one of my favorite Venusaurs to use in the lead position. He just had a lot of attack and was a huge attacker, just super strong. And it was also a long range Venusaur with ridiculous attack power. So I could even throw it in the support position and do some crazy damage. But I typically did not do that. And I'll talk about that because there is certain things that you want to keep in mind with your support Venusaurs. Now, as you'll see in the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side, you'll see you'll see the support effects. So each Venusaur can either give buffs if they're in the support position to your lead Venusaur, or they can actually end up doing some negatives. So they will lower your attack, lower your defense, or increase your attack, increase your defense, and so on. So as you can see now on the right screen, my attack is increased by 35 and defense is increased by 15. And that was basically just a little rundown. So I would always choose support Venusaurs that would boost the attack, defense, and other stats of my lead Venusaur and then give it some extra buffs. So just a quick little rundown of how I structured my teams. Now, there was also some other things you could do, like throw some long range Venusaurs in your support positions, which was fine. I didn't really find much of a use for the defensive Venusaurs. I just found, for myself anyways, in my playstyle I went with, they were kind of useless and I kind of shied away from them. So I mostly ran supports in my support slots, and then I ran a high attack Venusaur up front, and that was kind of how I structured all my teams. So yeah, that's a bit of a rundown on how the attacking system works. It's fairly basic, but there's also some interesting combinations you can do with certain Venusaurs and stuff, and you just got to find out what works best for your playstyle and how you want to play the game. Because I just found I'm a little bit more aggressive and like to be attacking, so that was how I played the game. I ended up making sure I had strong attack for my lead Venusaur. Now, there was also a shop in the game as well where you could sell your gems, because you would dig up jewel rocks is what they were called, and then they basically would either give you diamonds, emeralds, and so on, and then you could sell these for lots of money. And then at the shop you could buy fossil rocks, or you could also upgrade your tools. So I'm just going to show you guys right now on the screen. Here you could go to the fossil store, and then you could buy some fossil rocks. And then you can also upgrade your tools. So you can get a stronger drill, a stronger hammer. You can increase your radar, which you used your radar to basically see where there was any fossil rocks to dig up. It was your searching mechanism to dig up fossil rocks. And yeah, so there was lots that you could do at the shop. And that was another thing that super speeding helped up with playing it on the emulator. I remember grinding for hours just to get like enough money and dig up enough jewel rocks to be able to get all these upgrades. But it was not very long for me to get lots of these upgrades this go around, just because of the super speed on my emulator. So it really did not take very long. I was able to dig up so many jewel rocks and just have a boatload of money and get all of the upgrades done fairly early in the game. It did not take me all that long to get them all done, which was nice in some aspects, but also made me feel like I was cheating a little bit. But it is what it is. I mean, emulators just make things so much easier. Now I want to touch on the story a little bit, and I'm just going to be upfront and honest. It is, there isn't much of a story. It's really cheesy. Basically, I mean, I guess the actual objective of the game is kind of similar to Pokemon, where you're just trying to become a master rank fighter, because they're called fighters in this game, and that's what you are. You are a fossil fighter, and you're trying to become master rank. That's kind of your main goal from the get-go. But then there is a evil team similar to, you know, your Team Rocket or your Team Galactic and so on from Pokemon. They're called the BB Bandits, and then you find out who the BB boss is, and then there's all that kind of story as well. But later on in the game, I mean, besides your main objective of just becoming a master fighter, there's of course other things that happen. The BB Bandits are your main enemies, and they're trying to take over. And then you also end up running into these kind of alien species that are called Dinorians, and they're dinosaur people is essentially what they are. And so that's a little bit, you know, cheesy and weird. And then you end up finding out that the Dinorians are basically, they're among us and everything, and then you end up fighting them, and as they can actually transform into dinosaurs because they're dinosaur people. And yeah, it's a weird kind of story. Like, there's some weird elements to this game, that's for sure. But doesn't make it bad or anything. I mean, the gameplay itself is really good. The game is solid. It's got a weird story. It's really strange. And especially when there's just some moments where you're talking to these Dinorians, and then they're revealing that there's a signal sent out to this beast named Ganache, and it's on its way to destroy Earth. So you have to go into its belly and then take down its, I guess they're called like brains or whatever, Gaweep, Gavorn, and Galith. They got really strange names. And yeah, so that's kind of an overview of the story. The story's strange and quite goofy, to be honest, but it's still, you know, for what it is, it gets the job done. It's not like it's a bad story. It's just goofy and weird. But anyways, that is a overview of the story. So now, as you just saw, there's a few legendary Venusaurs in the game. There is Frigi and then Igno, which you just saw Igno get revived. And then there's also all the brains, Galith, Gavorn, Gaweep, and those are all legendaries as well. So there is a few legendary Venusaurs, and they're acquired in different ways. Like you get to use Frigi once you take down the BB trio, and then you get Igno once you take down Sorehead a bunch of times, I believe, is how I unlocked Igno. And then you get all the brains after you take on the final boss fight a second time, when all the brains are a little bit stronger. Then you end up unlocking them at the end of it all. So that's basically an overview of the legendary Venusaurs as well, because there is a few of them in the game, and they're not too bad at all. They're decent to use. I mean, none of them, like Igno's pretty good. It's an attack Venusaur, so he's got lots of attack. But personally, some of my favorite Venusaurs that I used a bunch, I just want to talk a little bit about my favorites. At the end of the game, and once you actually beat the main story, then you can end up digging up T-Rex fossils, Tarbo fossils, and then a few other like Triceratops fossils. Like there's a few cool Venusaurs that you don't even get an opportunity to use until you're done the main story and you're on to the after game, which, I mean, it's the same with Pokemon. There's times where there's Pokemon in the Pokemon games that are really, really cool that you wish you could have used throughout the main story, but you can't even unlock them or I guess, well, find the routes where they're found or get access to capturing them until the end game or after game. So it's kind of the same idea here, but once I ended up beating the game, then I really liked using Tarbo. Tarbo is probably my favorite Venusaur, and then T-Rex is pretty cool too. So, but throughout the main story of the game, I was just using, the entire time I was basically just using Corona as my main attack Venusaur, because Corona was just ridiculously strong. But now in the background, I just wanted to show you guys a bunch of the Venusaurs that I ended up with at the end of the game. So of course you had your Tarbo and Corona and then T-Rex. Those were my main attackers. And then I also found I really liked using Guon as one of my support Venusaurs, just because it ended up given your primary Venusaur, your lead Venusaur, a extremely high attack boost, like 90% or 90 points or whatever it was increase, which was just so, like, basically so unmatched compared to a lot of the other Venusaurs. So it was a perfect one to have in my support, in one of my support slots. And then there was lots of other support Venusaurs that I was constantly switching out for the other support slot. But once I got Guon, I just basically kept it as one of my support Venusaurs, and then swapped out my lead depending on what the other fighter's lead was and the other fighter's team was. Then I would swap out Tarbo or T-Rex or Corona. That was kind of my end game, basically best team that I came up with. And throughout the main game, then I had Corona, and then I had Spinax, and then I used Karchar a little bit as well. All the long neck Venusaurs, honestly, I didn't think were very good. I didn't think there was much of a reason for them. They weren't very strong personally, but that's just kind of my take. And then all the defensive ones I didn't really find all that useful either. But that was kind of just my insight on what I used and what I like to use in this game for my team. So now we're reaching the end of the game. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. This is kind of the end game footage here. These are all the Venusaurs I ended up with throughout the end of my playthrough. And then I'm going to let the final boss fight play out, as I always do in these videos, let the ending of the game play out. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. And to answer my question at the start of the video, did Fossil Fighters live up to my memories? Was it as good as I remembered? In short, yes it was. I talked about everything I really enjoyed with this game throughout this video, and some of the things that I thought I didn't really care for. And then, I mean, my only real nitpick on Fossil Fighters was the story being super cheesy. But I mean, it had its humorous moments and its funny moments. It's a, to put it, I guess, lightly, it's a kid's RPG, really. It's not meant to be super difficult, and it's meant to be on the lighter side of things, and it's not really meant to be taken seriously. It's definitely a game that doesn't take itself serious, that's for sure, which is a good thing, because it definitely it's got such a cheesy story. I mean, if it tried to take itself too seriously, then of course it would just not make much sense. But did it live up to my memories? Was it as good as I remembered? Yes, it was. I really, really enjoyed Fossil Fighters, and if you guys have played this game before, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your guys' memories and thoughts on Fossil Fighters. Another thing I would like is, because I did this on my phone emulator, I mean, it's just easy for me to record. I can play it anywhere. I have my laptop emulators all set up too, but with my phone emulator, it's just so easy to be able to record footage. So I hope you guys didn't mind this layout of the top screen on the left, bottom screen on the right, and the control pad. If it's taking up too much space and you guys didn't like this format for this video, then let me know, and I can always change it up in the future. But anyways, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on Fossil Fighters. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one.